In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the rim, or it's also called a border. And this part was the upset that I did. I added 4 rows of a color and then went back to my natural color and added, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And I wanted to show you that in my earlier video, I was saying that the upset was splayed out and I had to pull the tension in to make it come straight up. And so see, it does, even though it feels like in the moment that it's not going to come straight up, it will eventually. So just be patient with that. Again, it just takes practice, and doing your tension is a practice. So see how the spokes now are more parallel, or pretty parallel? That way, when you see that happen, then you know you don't have to keep pulling in the tension. You can just then start twining just without the extra tension, and it'll come straight up. This is also a good time to trim those overlaps on the inside that are extra long. If you can see that, these are kind of long. I don't cut them real short because then you don't want them to actually come out. I usually cut them, so this is coming out here. I usually cut them to the next place where they're twisted or woven. So that's just what I do. You're still going to see them, but that's just part of the basket. That's part of basket making. You've got ends on the inside. This is a little tricky to get in here. You could do this a little bit earlier, but again, I just don't like to do it too soon because then they could come out. And since this is the beginning spoke, see my green tag on it, you're gonna, excuse me, you may end up with a lot of overlaps right in that one place. So sometimes I try to, it's good if your weavers are different lengths and then you don't have all your overlaps in one place. Okay, so we're ready to finish this last row and then start the rim. I wanted to show you with the tension, since I'm not trying to pull it in anymore, I'm just, what I do is, this one's going over, so I'm going to do twist. The one in the back goes around the back. The one in the front goes around the front. And I'm packing, I push it down, and then sometimes I'll leave my fingers here to hold the tension while I do the next one. Twist, behind, this one went behind, this one went front, pack it down. And also with this basket, what's nice is the width between the spokes is kind of like a finger width, a loose finger width. So that's one way when I'm sticking my fingers in, it's also keeping the shape. Okay, so we're all the way around. I'm going to do one more here. Twist, behind and front. And I'm going to trim these. So this one's in the back is already behind. I'll just keep that one behind. Cut it, keep it behind. This one is, this weaver is in front. I want to make it go behind, and I'll tuck it behind this one so it's a little bit longer, and those ends aren't in the exact same place. On the inside. Well, actually that's a little long. Maybe I'll trim it a little bit more. Okay. Just very cautious about trimming too short because you don't want them to come out. All right. So I've soaked these spokes for 5 minutes. I mean, this particular batch of number 2 reed, these are pretty stiff, and so we're gonna really bend them. So I want to make sure they're not gonna break. And I do that by soaking. Okay. Another way I'm holding my basket, just to note, is when I'm weaving and I'm shaping, sometimes I'm pushing the bottom in, so that helps make the shape. Okay, let's start the rim. This was my beginning. I'm going to start here. Now I'm going to be going in a clockwise direction, the opposite of the way I was weaving. And we're going to tuck these behind. So you tuck it behind the first set of spokes. It comes in front of the next set, and then it goes behind and in the third one, like that. This first one we're going to leave, actually the first couple, we're going to leave sort of loose, because when we get all the way around, this one is going to have to tuck into this, so we don't want it too tight. And then you just repeat that all the way around. We're going to go, here's my mantra, behind this one, in front of the next one, behind and in. So see how this spoke is getting, it's kind of short, and so this was as high as I could go with these set of spokes in order to do this. This is called a braided border, or a trac border. So let's see, that was about, if I measure that, the short one was about 3 inches. So you need at least 3 inches of material. I had these spokes at 15, which is kind of short. So you want them to be at least 17 to 20 for this size basket. It'll just make it easier when you do this part, and you'll have more, you just cut off the material, but it makes it easier to work with. Okay, so behind, in front, and in. We're going to go all the way around, because see how they're popping up. Okay, behind, in front, and in. With this braid, I'm also going to keep wetting it as I go, because again, you want it really. I'm going to start, now that I've done 3, I'm going to start pulling it a bit tighter, behind and front, behind and in. In means the inside of the basket. So I'm going to start pulling this down. We're going to go all the way around, behind and front and in. And if it's a little loose, that's okay, because we can go around and then tighten it once we get that last set in. So behind, in front, and in. We also want to try to keep them parallel and not twisting as they go behind, in front, and in. This number 2 reed is really stiff. Some of the other reed I have, like the colored reed, is a little bit easier to work with when it's the small of a basket, but every batch is different, so you never know. Behind, in front, and in. So hoping you can see that. You know, hopefully on these videos you can also kind of zoom into my fingers if you want to see it closer. hopefully my fingers are not covering what you need to see. All right, so see how it's starting. This looks like a braid. There's three-stranded braid. They do start to come down, and this is how tight we want it to be when we're finished. So behind, in front, and in. See, this one's starting to twist. You can use your flathead screwdriver to pull it so it's not twisting. Just kind of something to watch as you go around. Behind, in front, and in. I mean, basketry really is a form of sculpture. I mean, every basket is different, and it's because it's your hands and your way of holding it and your tension that you put in the basket. It's very individual. People can tell if you made the basket after a while. That's like they can see your style. It's very interesting. They're not all the same. Okay, so we're getting around, all the way around, behind, in front, and in. Okay. These are popping out because these spokes are so short. You're not going to have that problem because your spokes will be longer. Okay. Behind, in front of this spoke. You can also, this one's really short, oh boy. Behind, in front of this one, and then in. So I need to go behind this. See how that tucks in? It's tucking in. Okay. You can also pull these forward a bit. Okay, we want to go behind this one, in front of this one. So we actually have, see, that's why this needs to be really looser, because we're actually going to have this come here. This is what really locks the rim in, this last one. I'm going behind this one, in front of this one, and then in. I need to go into this little space here. So in, which also goes behind. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around in that same counterclockwise direction and push these down so that this braid here on the top gets tighter. See how that is. There's these little extra spaces, and so I'm tightening it down. And if you need to, you could spray it if they're not slipping around easily for you. But you know, since these were really soaked beforehand, they should easily slip. Okay, so see, these were already tighter on the side, and now we go all the way around. You can't even tell where I started. All right. Okay, so here is the finished basket. Now, see all these ends on the inside of the rim? Since mine spokes were kind of short, here's some overlaps that are sort of long. Now I just go around to finish it. I just cut some of these little, if they seem too long. But since I had short spokes, I don't really need to cut. These are pretty short. I don't want to cut them. This one might be a little long. And that's kind of why in the beginning we put all the spokes, you try to put all the spokes, the overlap spokes on the inside. This braided edge also can be, when you tighten it, it also kind of comes in a little bit, and it sort of hides all those spoke ends in here as well, which is kind of nice. Okay, so this is the finished basket. The bottom, that's what the bottom looked like. And sometimes you might get these little hairs. I don't know if you can see that, but you can just cut those off. It's actually easier with the scissors, but just cut them. You don't want to pull them. You can cut them. Some people burn them off. I'm afraid to do the burning. I'm afraid I'll burn my whole basket. So you just can trim those. I wanted to show you this other one that I did. So see how the spoke, it is going to kind of curve in the direction you're going to end up putting your rim. So don't expect them to be just perfectly straight coming up. They are going to curve, and especially with this type of rim, it's going to curve here. Here's another one. You can maybe see it a little bit better how this ends up curving. It has a braided rim, and see the spokes are trimmed at the top, and it has a similar bottom. Okay, that's your finished first beginner's basket.